This video is sponsored by Normandy 1998, 212th Trooper, Silas 1610, Carmen CJ, Runescribble, Kitsu the Kitsune, Blooddown, Papa Podo, and Team Valor. All in all, life is pretty sweet, or at least Sonic thinks so as he enjoys yet another day of sun-soaked relaxation, racing up and down the beach in an attempt to beat his own best time, while a little ways away, Tails is tinkering with the tornado, and Shadow is supposedly meditating and attempting to better attune himself to the Chaos Emeralds piled in front of him, though Sonic's pretty sure he's actually napping. Not that it matters, since with Robotnik gone and the Chaos Emeralds safe with them, there's been no need to be constantly on alert, or at least that's been the case up until now, as looking out to the horizon, Sonic spots something truly massive falling out of the sky, probably even bigger than the Death Egg, as when it strikes the ocean, the impact can be felt clearly all the way on this island, with the blue blur having to spin dash to avoid being bowled over by the shockwave. Having likewise braced for this, Shadow appears beside his partner, emeralds tucked under his arms. While coughing up sand, Tails asks what that was. Looking thoughtful, Shadow admits that he doesn't know, though before he can say more, Sonic cuts in, grinning that he means to find out, as he lays a hand on the Chaos Emeralds and implores Shadow to go super with him, since together they can handle whatever this is, no sweat. Still pensive, Shadow agrees that it would be wise to investigate, though turning to Tails, he questions if the tornado is ready to fly, since their battle aboard the Death Egg proved that their time as super hedgehogs is limited, so it would be best not to waste it flying over when they could transform closer to the destination, when they have a better idea of what they're facing. Seeing the sense in this, Tails confirms that he can have them in the air in 5 minutes, with a pair of hedgehogs mounting up on either side of the wings, as Tails fires up the tornado, and takes them off towards the fallen anomaly. As they get closer, all three of them are surprised to see that it appears to be an island, with Tails wondering aloud how an island got all the way in the sky, though for Shadow, this poses a very different question, as he once more reflects on Professor Gerald's bedtime story of the floating island. Could this be it? So deep is Shadow's engrossment in this thought that Sonic has to shake him to get his attention, as he grins that they're almost there, so he'd better wake up, or he's gonna go super on his own and leave Shadow in the dust. Suddenly sharing the boys' desire to see the island up close, Shadow nods, with the pair channeling chaos energy into themselves and transforming into matching golden states, before wordlessly launching off the plane and taking flight under their own volition. As super hedgehogs, it only takes them a matter of seconds to reach the coast, and then effortlessly past as they enter a dense jungle. Smirking slightly, Sonic quips that at least this first area doesn't look like Green Hill, since that was starting to get a little eerie, though before Shadow can reply, something red bursts up from under the ground and strikes Sonic in the stomach with enough force that when he lands sprawled out on the ground, it is back in his regular blue form. Calling out the younger hedgehog's name, Shadow attempts to fly to his side, though once again he is interrupted, this time by the red something, which is unfurled to reveal itself as an echidna wearing large spiked gloves, one of which quickly finds itself buried in Shadow's chest, knocking him flat, while the Chaos Emeralds clatter to the ground around him. Chuckling that these two aren't nearly as tough as he said they'd be, the echidna wastes no time gathering up the emeralds while his foes are prone. Then, when he has them, he flatly delivers an ultimatum before departing. Leave and never come back, or else. By now, Sonic has made it back into a kneeling position as he yells for the Red Ruffian to hold it, though it is already too late, as he is gone with the emeralds in hand. Meanwhile, Shadow remains laid out, as something in that hit had sent pain racing through his whole body, with this lingering long after the assailant is gone, so that Sonic has to help his companion back to his feet while asking if he's alright. Shaking his head gruffly, Shadow asserts that he's fine, then as Tails makes his way into the clearing having landed safely on the beach, he tells the boys to come on, since they had to get the Chaos Emeralds back at once. Thanks to his innate Chaos Emerald sense, Shadow has no trouble knowing which way to go, making it a simple enough task to follow their attacker, though as they move through the jungle, they are greeted by a familiar but unwelcome sight. Badniks. Due to there only being a smattering of them compared to the swarms back on Westside Island, Tails hopefully suggests that maybe these are just some leftovers from before the Death Egg fell, and while Sonic grins that he loves his buddy's optimism, Shadow scowls that he doesn't know, though either way they need to keep their wits about them, since whether they're dealing with Robotnik or just his tech, the situation has become markedly more dangerous. Case in point, when the trios reach a break in the forest, they are confronted by a drone that resembles the Eggmobile, though in this case it is unmanned, carrying only a battery of bombs that it unleashes upon them, evidently programmed for scorched earth tactics. Thankfully, Sonic, Tails, and Shadow are fast enough to avoid being incinerated, though the same cannot be said for the forest, which becomes a site of flaming desolation, causing the three heroes to scowl deeply, as even Robotnik's machines have the same callous disregard for life and nature that he does. Nonetheless, they can't stop now, not when their echidna target is so close by, with the trio pressing on, as now on top of the burning brush, they must also contend with heavy waterfalls that threaten to drown them, and stone maces too high to scale that they must spin dash through instead. ahead. Each new challenge serves as a humbling reminder of what they have lost, as previously they simply would have used Chaos Snap to avoid these obstacles and Chaos Control to prevent the drone from destroying the forest. Though perhaps more troublingly, it is a wake-up call as to how reliant the two hedgehogs have become on their Chaos abilities. And to cap it all off, they soon discover that they aren't the only ones aware of their diminished state, as when they come out onto what appears to be flatlands, a large bomber plane descends to fly over them, while dropping more ballistic weapons that Shadow and Sonic must run at top speed to avoid, while pulling Tails along with them so he isn't obliterated. Thankfully, the bombing run is brief, and when the trio slip under a tree canopy too thick for the plane to destroy or pass under, it falls back, allowing them to traverse the last leg unopposed. Or at least that's what they think until the floating form of Dr. Robotnik bursts from behind a waterfall, revealing that he corralled the rodents here so he can finish them while they're weak. As he does this, he unveils his newly upgraded Egg Scorcher, evidently seeking to right what he perceives as a long overdue wrong, as Shadow and Sonic recognize this is the mech they so easily dismantled during their second battle with the Doctor, though that was thanks to Shadow's display of Chaos Control. Without it, this will be a much tougher fight, as showing off one of the Egg Scorcher's new capabilities, Robotnik as the twin flame cannons burn away the rope bridge they'd just crossed, leaving the heroes stranded on a small platform, entirely at his mercy. That is what Robotnik would like to think, at least, as having become a formidable unit who know they can rely on each other even with reduced power. Sonic, Shadow, and Tails refuse to die here, as the two hedgehogs run in and pelt the Egg Scorcher with homing attacks, while Tails takes to the air and acts as their coordinator, using his bird's eye view to observe the Doctor's patterns and relay them to his friends, so they can attack when it's safe. Thanks to this, the trio are able to make quick work of the machine just as they did the original version, forcing Robotnik to flee back behind the waterfall, and while Sonic is inclined to chase him, Shadow points out that the echidna is nearby and stationary, meaning they may have found his hideout at last. Agreeing they can handle Butnik once they have the emeralds back, Sonic along with Tails follows Shadow onto another bridge, though this one strangely leads only to a flat rock wall, with the trio looking up to see their crimson foe glaring down at them from atop the mesa. As one, the heroes prepare to ascend, though clearly having the opposite intentions for them, the Red Ruffian wordlessly stomps on a button, causing what they now recognize as a fake bridge to collapse under their feet and send them plummeting into the abyss below. Thinking fast, Sonic and Tails link hands, allowing the Fox Boy to keep them from falling, though when the blue blow reaches out for Shadow, he is already too late, as even the Ultimate Lifeform's air shoes are not enough to keep him aloft, so that a moment later, he vanishes into the darkness. Screaming his companion's name, Sonic reaches out vainly, as if he can somehow recall Shadow from the void, though knowing this is impossible, Tails puts his effort into landing them back on the platform, as he demands to know why the echidna's doing all this. Maintaining his glare, the Red Ruffian replies that he is Knuckles, guardian of this island and the Master Emerald, and he will not allow villains such as them to steal the gem or continue terrorizing the human Doctor, so he'll say it again. Leave now while the two of them still have their lives. Taking this as all the confirmation they need that this guy is in league with Robotnik, Tails protests that Knuckles has it all wrong. They're the good guys here. While having marshaled his resolve, Sonic snaps that Knucklehead must be pretty dense if he thinks they're leaving without Shadow and the Chaos Emeralds. In contrast, Knuckles doesn't grow more heated. Instead, he simply sighs, so be it. What follows will be on their heads. With this, he stomps down once again, though this time on the cliff face itself rather than the button, turning the outcropping into a deluge of stones that rains down upon the invaders while he retreats with the emeralds once again. As the hail of stones ends, Sonic and Tails are dismayed to see that not only has this blocked their ability to ascend the cliff and pursue Knuckles, but the stones have also clogged the chasm, preventing them from following after Shadow as well. Knowing this latter fact likely distresses his friend, Tails asks Sonic if he's okay, though forcing himself to return to his usual confident demeanor with a hint of his mentor's stoicism. The blue blow grins that he's not worried, since he's seen Shadow survive worse than a little fall, but with no way forward or any way to track the Chaos Emeralds, it looks like they'll have to leave Knuckles to their black and red buddy for the time being. Nodding determinedly, Tails asks what the two of them should do in the meantime, and grimacing slightly at the thought of the dousing he's about to get, Sonic points at the waterfall Robotnik fled behind, as he smirks that they'll tell the Doc and stop whatever evil scheme he's got cooking. Meanwhile, several miles below the surface, Shadow at last lands in a deep pool of water, with this going a long way to break his fall, even if it feels like he's just crashed through a brick wall, a sensation he will soon experience literally, as with a sudden surge of pressure, a jet of water shoots him through a pipe with enough force that he smashes through an ancient wall and is sent flying once again. Spotting another basin of water below him, Shadow activates his air shoes to glide across it, coming to a halt on an ancient brick platform with his first thought being of how much Sonic would have hated that landing. Though Shadow's preoccupation with his young protege is short-lived, as something new comes along to draw his attention, a series of floor panels that shift seemingly in response to his proximity, revealing modern mechanical fans with enough force to carry his body weight into the air. And that is not the only piece of modern technology he finds, as at the zenith of the fan's range hangs a conveyor belt that Shadow is easily able to grab onto, riding it for several seconds before swinging himself onto a higher landing. This sort of mechanism is significantly more advanced than the brickwork and architecture of this place would suggest was available at the time of its construction, with this only deepening the mystery of this place, though Shadow can't help but think that it also gives credence to the idea that Professor Gerald really was here, since if he had learned of such a technological discrepancy, he certainly would have been drawn to seeing it himself. With this in mind, Shadow begins moving through what he quickly surmises a semi-submerged city, all the while keeping an eye out for any signs of his creator. Thanks to this vigilance, he finds a couple of small chalk markings written in a hand similar to Professor Gerald's, which is consistent with the man's ethics, as he didn't leave behind something that would not permanently deface an ancient site such as this. For the most part, they appear to simply be survey markings, warning of dangerous paths or how many paces to the next air bubble generator when approaching a flooded section. Though Shadow does not necessarily need these warnings as the ultimate life form, it is nonetheless comforting to feel his maker's guidance once again, with him following Professor Gerald's trail in the hope that it will lead him to something more substantial. Eventually, this path leads him back to the surface, though now he is in a series of ancient hillside ruins, with these likewise showing signs of advanced ancient technology, like a mechanized carousel, and wheels he can spin dash against to raise or lower platforms. Truly, it is a fascinating place, with Shadow having no trouble understanding why Professor Gerald was so enamored by it as he continues following his path up into the highlands. As he does, the marks become more frequent, as do other signs of an expedition's presence, as while Gerald was conscientious and took pains not to damage the surroundings, just the simple act of moving through a largely undisturbed place leaves its marks even half a century later. Most interesting among these are the signs of base camps being set up, with Shadow pursuing these eagerly, as if the professor were to leave behind a cache of research materials, it would be at one of these. While the first few former camps turn up nothing, when Shadow reaches the third one, he spots a slightly discolored brick on one of the ruined walls, and testing a hunch, he pulls on it, with it easily giving way to reveal a lockbox hidden within. Heart leaping into his throat, Shadow nervously takes the box, and upon spotting the 7-digit padlock, immediately begins entering a code he has not needed in a long time, but which he knows his maker was partial to. 13, 1, 18, 9, 1. At once, the lock clicks open, confirming that this must have been the professor's, though before Shadow can open it, an angry voice barks out, declaring that he knew it. The black and red hedgehog is here to steal the Knuckles clan's ancient treasures. Well, he won't allow it. Turning his head in the direction of the sound, Shadow spots Knuckles lunging towards him, fist raised, with the ultimate lifeform having to dash back to avoid another of his powerful punches. Nonetheless, Knuckles does not stop here, swinging again while Shadow thrusts a leg out to meet him. In terms of raw strength, Knuckles is clearly superior, but by using speed to add momentum to his strikes, not to mention his advanced intellect and considerable experience, Shadow is able to match him and even take the lead, as he pushes back against Knuckles, both physically and in his assertions that he is a thief, declaring that he is simply recovering something his creator left behind. However, Knuckles doesn't want to hear it, instead changing tack to a more evasive style, with Shadow having to admit that he is unlike anyone he has fought in a long time, as while Robotnik relies on overwhelming force to compensate for his weakness, and his robots have programming that allows them to emulate tactical theory, Knuckles is a true warrior, with honed instincts and innate feel for the rhythm of battle that no amount of technology can mimic. While Shadow also possesses these instincts, he is above all a pragmatist, with his goal therefore being to end this fight as quickly and decisively as possible, and thankfully, he believes he has just the strategy to do so, since with the Chaos Emerald still in Knuckles' possession, he might be close enough to trigger Chaos Control, allowing him to slow time long enough to reclaim the emeralds and defeat the Echidna. Knowing there's no time like the present, Shadow extends an arm in the gem's direction and begins to cry out the familiar phrase. Though, having evidently been on guard for this, Knuckles switches strategy once again, using this opening to land a haymaker in his foe's jaw before he can harness the power he seeks. Like the hit from their first meeting, this is enough to knock Shadow off his feet, as the same wave of full-body agony races through him, though this time the black and red hedgehog is able to identify it more clearly, as with his focus having been so intently on channeling chaos energy, he immediately notices its absence, with it not just being the chaos energy he was drawing from the emeralds, as his own innate connection to the power has been neutralized somehow. This sudden, seemingly impossible loss is enough to daze Shadow, with Knuckles making the most of it, as before the ultimate life form can even fully regain his balance, the Echidna warrior uses his own not inconsiderable speed to land a flurry of body blows on his foe, slamming him into the dirt and sending the lockbox skittering out of his hand. Weakly, Shadow attempts to rise again, though seeing that he is already beaten, Knuckles pays him no mind, sauntering over to the box and claiming it as spoils of war, before continuing on his way, leaving the black and red hedgehog with only injuries and questions. And that's where we'll leave things for now. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave your thoughts, suggestions, or screams of rage in the comments below.